What is up, everyone? Back alive for another Insiders live stream. It is so great to see everyone today, making sure that we are connected on all of our platforms. But before I start yapping away, but if you are joining us for the first time live, you're in for a treat. We are back with our second session in our monthly webinar series. This series really came to life from our insiders community. We have been asking questions for your feedback, topic suggestions, and based on the dozens that we have compiled over the past few months, chose at least four that we were like, let's get started. So if you're new here, without further ado, we're just gonna kick things off. We are live streaming today from a few different platforms, live on the UNE Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So it is so great to connect with you all here today. If you are catching the replay a little later on, hello, hi. Definitely, if you are live with us, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, please use the comment section on the sections that you're viewing from today. I will check those periodically throughout the live stream and answer questions as we go throughout, save some for the end. If you are live today on LinkedIn or YouTube, you can add those questions in the comment sections. I can actually pull them on the screen. I love to make these as interactive as possible. So don't hold back, send everything my way. Just some introduction, some light housekeeping, and then we're going to kick things off with our agenda and our topics for today. Okay, the meat and potatoes, as I would like to call it. First things first, my name is Jazz Jackson. I am the founder and CEO of Unearthly Studios. We're a creative visual production and talent management agency on a mission to empower artists, creatives, and visionary brands to achieve their full potential, okay? We're on a mission. A little bit about me outside of being the head queen in charge of UNE. I'm also a talent manager, A&R, music curator, wearing a few different hats within the music biz. Also, just an all around marketing girly, creative strategist. I have been creating magic within the marketing space for almost 14 years, which is crazy to think about. So, if you think about 14 years, I have really seen the evolution of digital marketing, social media, influencers, brand partnerships. I have been in the space through it all. I feel personally one of my favorite things about social and why I don't ever like to call myself an expert. I guess many would consider, yes, I have expertise, my zone of genius, but I'm a true enthusiast of the space, of marketing, of social, of trends and insights. And at the basis of marketing is human psychology. It's all about people and community and connection. So I just love marketing in itself. I could go off on a tangent about that, but that is not today's topic. Why you are all here, okay? What we're talking about today is branding beyond the pretty logos. For some context, if you were not here last week, we went live for our first webinar in this series, which is community building from followers to super fans. So in that series, in the first conversation of our series, we honestly, we talked about all things community. Okay, so if you missed that last week, it's up on our YouTube, up on our LinkedIn, check that out. We did community building first because it was so highly requested. There's about an hour of insights all around community building gems, insights, how you can take what we consider a follower, okay, and transform those relationships, nurture those, and create transformative relationships. Supporters, brand advocates, all words, the same thing. But for today, branding beyond the pretty logos, I'm going to go through a little bit of our agenda, what we're going to cover, and then we're just going to get into it. Once again, if you're tuning in live, welcome, welcome. Please use the comment sections on the platform that you're viewing from. Drop those questions, comments, thoughts, feedback. Love to get all of it. If you're joining us live on LinkedIn or YouTube, can actually pull your comments in, put them on the screen, show you a little love, give you a little shout out. Okay, I do my best to make these interactive. So I recommend to tune in from there. If you are joining on Instagram, what is up? What is up? I cannot pull your comments in, but I am watching Instagram live. So I am actively looking at the comment section there. Just add your questions in there. Other than that, I think that's all the housekeeping, and I can kind of start yapping away with what we're going to talk about today. So when it comes to brand strategy, so many people think about the visuals, the brand design, the what you see visually communicated. That could mean the logo, the colors, right? The specific fonts that they use. It could be visual aesthetics, cues, whether it's a certain texture or, ooh, they always start their content off this way. Wardrobe, hair, color psychology. These are all different elements of branding. What I always say before you can even get to what do I want this to look like, you have to first go all the way back to the roots. The roots, the foundation, the core, where all of the work starts. And one of my favorite things, what brings me so much joy being a brand strategist, creative marketer, is working with artists, creators. We also work on the agency side with visionary brands. So we work with music organizations, nonprofits, other creator brands as examples. The first thing that we do with any of our clients is we don't go, oh, here's some content ideas, here you go. No, we don't. We go all the way back first to brand identity, the brand strategy, and that brand foundation. I always call that the North Star, the essence, the mission, the values, the brand identity piece, which everything else flows from, right? Also includes things like audience research, target audience research, your personas. Who are the audience that you're even trying to reach? I know because I have so many beautiful conversations with artists and creators, brands from all walks of life. Sometimes, oftentimes, the foundational brand strategy work has not been done. And I feel, especially when it comes to artists and creators, a lot of that can be an artist brand, could be a personal brand. For those in the creator economy space, it could be the same. You're growing your personal brand. The essence is you, what you like, what you're interested in, the music that you create. All of those are part of the brand. But the identity piece, it's layers deep, some of which we're going to go through today. Okay, I can't go as deep as I would like. Okay, but if you are interested in what you love, what you're hearing, and you need more one-on-one support, y'all know where to find us. But we wanted to give y'all at least a high level overview on when we think about brand strategy, what this really means. And the great part is there's going to be some homework, there's going to be some freebies. Okay, we'll talk more about those in a little bit. There's going to be actionable things that every single person watching this can do, pen to paper. Pause this if you're watching the replay, take some time to think about some of these things. Go to a coffee shop. If you live somewhere warm right now, go to a park and think about this if this is a part of the foundation work that you haven't done. And if it's something that you've done before, there is never a better time than for a refresh to just go back and see, okay, so much of this might be the same, but maybe some things are a little bit different. Or, ooh, actually, I'm kind of leaning in this direction. So, a little bit of what we're going to cover today is first, we're going to talk about the aesthetic. I'm calling the aesthetic trap in music and creative culture. Spend a little bit of time here. Okay. And then we're going to move into some strategic brand positioning, just ways that you can set yourself apart within your space. This is going to be looking different for everyone. So I'm trying to keep this as broad as possible. But we're going to talk about different pillars of creative brand positioning, spend a little time talking about authentic voice development for both artists and brands and what is authenticity. We hear it all the time, be authentic, but what does that actually mean for you? And then, of course, we have to talk about visual identity. So we can't talk about brand strategy without talking about the visuals. So we'll spend a little bit of time to wrap this up today, talking about visual identity that builds fan base, both builds your fan base and can appeal to a wider audience. So we're going to go back to the top of this because I know one of the things that come up a lot is artists and creators feeling like they're stuck in the amongst the noise, right? The sea of, whether you're an artist, the sea of music releases, feeling drowned amongst all of that. Whether you're a creator in the beauty and fashion space, a lot of us know those are pretty saturated spaces within the creator side of things. A lot of beauty creators, a lot of fashion creators. How do you set yourself apart, right? In the midst of all of it. For most of y'all, 90% of y'all, and even if you're a brand, it's the same thing. There's still a brand personality, a mission, an audience that you're trying to target. But for artists and creators, honestly, you are so freaking unique in itself. And a lot of the work that we do on the agency side with clients is we lean so much into, and our questionnaire is so detailed. So if your client, it is like thick with questions. So because we have to really understand our clients at a core level, who they are, what they believe in, what is their mission, what is their vision for success, what are their, like, who are their audiences, or if they don't know, who do they imagine that their core audiences are that they want to reach. These are all strategic questions that are all part of that brand identity piece, that brand foundation. Because at the end of the day, branding comes before marketing. And I did a whole deep dive masterclass on YouTube. So go check that one out. It got slides. It's pretty in depth where I break down all of these differences. But for the sake of time today, all of these key questions that you answer and that you ask and that you gain clarity and understanding on are going to be the core foundation, the essence of the brand, the world that you're trying to create. You're going to have a better clarity and understanding of the audiences that you're trying to reach. Because only then, when you have clarity on the who, the what, the why, then you can move on to, okay, and now how are we going to reach them, which would be the marketing piece. So, as a strategist, before I can even start shouting, oh, here's all these creative ideas and let's build out the platform strategy for you, XYZ. We got to answer, I got to get all these other questions I just listed off answered. But for the first thing that I wanted to really talk about is there's some differences between having a vibe and what I say, having a real brand strategy. There's a lot of common misconceptions, especially in music and creative culture. One of them, my music or my work will speak for itself. I just need more followers. Our branding is for pop artists, our sellouts. All of those are misconceptions. All of those are freaking myth and they are so false. And if that was true, I just truly believe a lot more people would be successful. But there are so many reasons why I would say the industry professionals, I don't necessarily like to call people quote unquote gatekeepers, but I guess those with the capacity to extend opportunities, right, to you. There's a lot of reasons why they might pass on an artist, right, for a show opportunity. or an a media opportunity, or a creator for a brand campaign, for example. Um, and one of those things might come down to the branding, the clarity of the brand. And for an artist, like I said, so much of it will come into parts of cohesively what you're doing on socials and streaming and how you built your fan base and community in other areas. But coming from someone who works with brands, has have worked with some of the biggest brands in the world for many years, I have worked with all sorts of influencers and creators from micro to celebrity level. The brand piece, oh, that's very clear. It is so clear. And I, for artists and creators, because so many artists are in my community, I'm speaking to y'all. A lot of the opportunities that you want, the brand partnerships, the interviews, the press, all of the things that you see, the collaborations and campaigns that you see more established artists getting the opportunity to be blessed with is because they have established a strong brand around them, around their art, their music, their products, their niche. If you're a creator, right? It's clear. The dollars, especially in 2026 and beyond, are going to go to those that have a very clear and strong brand, community, which we talked about last week, so we're not talking about it this week. And obviously, visibility, reputation, authority, those are all things, presence that you build social, digitally, etc. But that brand piece is going to be strong, so strong, and you can't even get to what you can do visually if you don't have clarity on, like, okay, I need to get these other foundation pieces cemented. So I think one of the things that I really wanted to focus on for brand strategy is the positioning and kind of what that really means in music and creative culture. So I think of creative brand positioning in three different pillars if I had to break this down. So one is going to be niche, different, like what sets you apart in your niche. How do you stand out, whether it's in your genre, creative space, and ensuring that you don't sound too much like anyone else, you don't look too much like anyone else, and that you are leaning into, we call them in marketing terms, USP. It's like unique selling proposition, but it's just like what sets you apart? What makes you different? And I don't care if you're an artist, a creator, a DJ, a photographer, a videographer, we work with all creators like that on the agency side. There has to be something that sets you out amongst the sea, the wave, the masses of those that might be within your same niche lane or space. I can give some examples. um so for example, right, I have my personal brand. Y'all gonna see me more, okay? But for my personal brand, I love fashion. I love freaking fashion, okay? But I knew, okay, the fashion space and the creator economy is very saturated. But going a layer deeper, I like, I don't only thrift, but most of my wardrobe is thrifted content, or thrifted wardrobe. I love the thrift. So I like to create content that's around thrifting, upcycling, things like that. So I know, because that's a specific space that I'm in, and because I love focusing on sustainability, environmentalism, partnering with brands who are more eco-friendly, eco-conscious, I have pretty much niched myself down as a creator to get from very broad, which is fashion, to very niche, and in a way that one is authentic. Authenticity is another part of this, right? It's the core of who I am. At the end of the day, I don't shop a Fashion Nova or a H&M. I don't. I go on eBay, or I'm at an estate sale, I go thrifting. So I'm already unique in that sense. So that's one of my something that sets me apart within my space. Example. For a music artist, this can look like, I gave this example, I feel like last week, but let's say you're an R&B artist. You're an R&B artist. That might be the most broad category, but you could be an R&B artist that loves anime, that also is into horseback riding. These are all examples. That also loves XYZ. And maybe these are actual hobbies, interests, passions that you pursue outside of one part of your identity, which is being a music R&B artist. There are still so many layers, and because our beautiful insiders community is full of multifaceted, multi-dimensional, passionate, talented creators, so many of y'all, especially our clients, y'all don't have wear one hat. There's not just one facet of your identity, if that's the word I had to use to sum all this up in. There are so many layers of who you are that make you the beautiful soul that exists, that you got to lean into it. So when I'm talking about what sets you apart amongst the noise, amongst in the space that you're in, it's going to be you. It's going to be your essence. We work with brands too. So when we think about bringing the brand strategy to life, we think about it in the same way. There's still a personality, there's still their core persona, that we still build that out, but we just think about it in more of a different way. But for artists and creators, like, usually this is stemming from you. And I feel so strongly a lot of why there's confusion or the lack of clarity on who am I or what should I create, XYZ, is because that brand foundation just maybe hasn't been mapped out, identified, or might not be there. And that's okay, because there's always things that you can do. So the first one, right, is going to be, how do you stand out within your niche? That's going to be pillar one. The second part that we think about is audience clarity. Once you kind of figure out, okay, who am I? What sets me apart? What does success look like for me? What is my why? Why am I sharing my music with the world? Or why do I want to create this product? Or, ooh, create content like this? As examples. The next part you really have to figure out is the who. Who is going to connect with your sound? Who is going to connect with your work? And I say the why. So the who, the why, and then eventually the how is the tactics, aka the marketing. But all the brand foundation and the positioning has to come first. And these are things that you can literally put pen to paper down. Okay, we're also going to share a freebie, which is going to be a checklist and a worksheet page. So y'all can think about this. We're going to share it out via our newsletter. Um, but yes, I've been thinking about this, and there's some other things with the audience that hopefully I can get to today. But I'm trying to keep this super top level. But it's really thinking about who's connecting and the why. So there are some questions that you can think about when you think about your audience for a music artist. This could be, who is going to relate to the sound, to this specific work? This could be overarching for your artist brand, or even down to project by project. The strategy could look a little different. The overarching audience could be the same, but conceptually, there might be some different thought starters here. But overarching, when you think about audience, you really have to think about, why will this resonate with them? Whether it's the album, your music, your content, maybe you're a DJ that produces, your own mixes, but you also travel and do shows and events, but you're building your presence on social. You could be a photographer, same in the same sense, where you're sharing the photos that you're taking. Who are you trying to reach, and why are you trying to reach them? So as an R&B artist, because I got to use the same example, you can't say, hey, my target audience is anyone who loves R&B. That's my audience. It's not. If you are trying to speak to everyone, you are speaking to nobody. We can say yes, obviously, like check mark. They have to be and love R&B, neo soul. Maybe they love these types of genres. That's layer one. But beyond that, who else? Who else are they? What do they like? What are their interests, their passions, their hobbies? What don't they like? These these are psychographics, interests, hobbies, but we also have demographics. It could be R&B enthusiasts, ages 18 to 35, located in urban areas, New York City, Chicago, Atlanta. Now we're getting granular on who are they. These are all things I recommend anyone to think about, no matter what stage of your journey you're in. If you are doing, hey, I'm kind of doing a brand refresh for my creator brand, or maybe you have another service based or product business, at the end of the day, you're going to want to go all the way back to these questions. A rebrand is not just about the visuals that we see. Now, when we think of a rebrand, we're thinking about, okay, what are we showing people? We see the new logo, their updated website. Maybe they do a marketing campaign. That's great. But I'm telling you that everything that I'm talking about, all these questions are being asked, are being answered, they're diving deep. Well, what communities are they part of? Oh, okay, what other artists do they like to listen to? It gets so granular, and it has to. Because how are you going to know how to effectively market and target those people through the creative and the messaging and all the good coins that you put behind bringing all the visuals, the social content, the website, all of that to life? How can any of that happen if you don't have clarity on who you are, right? What sets you apart? Your mission, your values, your what does success look like? All those questions, and then have clarity on your audience and who you're trying to reach. Okay. So the third pillar in all of this is your value proposition. And I did talk about this a little bit, but I always like to think about it as what makes your artistry uniquely valuable. Now, I'm talking about beyond good music. The music got to be great, okay? The music has to be great. Look, artists, I know I got so many artists in our insider communities, artists that are our clients, artists obviously I work with. At bare minimum, the music has to be great. But I feel and I think of the great music as the product that's being marketed. The brand and the product are still separate components, which is everything we've been yapping about today. Or this even goes behind quality content, right? These are we kind of know. And quality does not mean high budget, most expensive. Okay, I always got to clear that up. But those are the three pillars of creative brand positioning. Some other examples, maybe specific to music culture, would be an artist who wanted to reposition from, hey, a bedroom producer, right, to a lo-fi curator for late night vibes. Example. Photographer who goes from, hey, yeah, I shoot content to I'm a visual storyteller for underground hip hop culture. Very specific. Um, Broad to niche. So those are just some examples of how you can think about creative brand positioning. If you have any questions, let me know. I yap a lot, but I promise I'm trying to check those as we go along. Section two, y'all. I could spend forever here, but it's around authentic voice development and authenticity in the root of it. Obviously, we talked about a little bit within the brand positioning. That needs to come from the ethos and the essence of who you are at the core. Now, the problem is with lack of clarity comes a lack of understanding. which means you don't have a strategy, which means you don't have a plan. And the how I work is I want all of y'all to win without burning yourselves out, without feeling like you are just throwing shit out there and seeing what works, which is a lot of people with when it comes to social media and their strategy. The clarity is that North Star from, and I promise you, it drives everything you do. If you know who you are, right, your brand, your essence, what you stand for, all those things, then you're gonna know what who and what you're not. And I feel like for authentic voice development, there's two parts of this. We did talk about authenticity plus vulnerability last week in our community building webinar, because authenticity and vulnerability are two sides of the same coin. And I feel so strongly when it comes to the artists that win, the creators, the DJs, the like the quote unquote traditional celebrity that are winning, that have the are the ones with strong brands, strong positioning, strong communities, our fan bases, and it's so like the brand is so freaking clear. Those are the people that are going to continue to win in the creator economy. I remember when I first got my start in like moving into influencer and brand partnerships, and this was 2016, 2017. We were still having to convince brands that what WTF is influencer marketing. Why should we pay this celebrity X amount of dollars for a post? Yada yada yada. Having to sell these brands on, oh, influencer marketing is the next thing, it's the next thing. Now it is on track to be, I don't even know, it went from like a 2 billion to 20 billion. It's going to reach exceedingly billions of an industry. But I have seen how it's shifted and who's getting the dollars and who's not, and what brands are willing to pay, because I was the one negotiating the contracts. And I was like, oh, I need to get my brand up. I need to get my brand up. You said they're getting paid how much for a TikTok post? Okay. Okay now. But none of that would be possible if they did not have a brand. Okay. Just saying. But it's been crazy to see. Now we're in this creator economy. It is not slowing down. Whether you're an artist, a creator, DJ, photographer, videographer, maybe you are a watercolor artist. All of this stuff is the same thing. You're still building a brand around your interests. Maybe it's a hobby, passion, interest, things that you're curious about. And in 2025, we about to be in 2026. There are going to be even more independent artists, freelancers, those launching their own businesses, more creators in all niches, across all spaces. It is not slowing down. There is a piece of the pie for you if you are someone who is excited about the opportunity to be able to monetize, which is, I would say, most people within our insiders community. So many opportunities. But I'm telling y'all, because I'm having these conversations with strategists and other marketers. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm in the other webinars and conferences. Brands are also going to be even more reserved with who their dollars are going to. So this is not just talking about, oh, I want to partner with brands on a brand deal and I want to make sure that all my stuff's lined up in a row. I'm also just talking about the overarching opportunity for you to be able to monetize in general. Okay? And whether you're an artist building a true fan base, a true tribe, a community, maybe you're a DJ who wants to eventually monetize outside of just doing like events and festivals and shows. Maybe you want to offer DJ and mentorships or your own service in the future. The brand that you build is the catalyst for all of this. So you can't just skip steps. This is not how it works. You can, but eventually, if you are building your brand on a shaky foundation, it's going to crumble. especially as I segue into authenticity, if you are building on a foundation that is not authentic to the core of who you are, period. Now, I talked about trends, I talked about that stuff last week a little bit more. If your strategy, if your brand is not identified down to its core, if your strategy is, hey, I'm kind of just seeing what everyone else is doing, or I just, I'm just copying this or that. That it's those things might drive eyes and ears, but it's not going to build a undeniable brand that can stand the test of time. Um, so that authenticity piece is so freaking important, and it's a balance, right? It's a balance. There are, of course, with social, there are some things that you can do that, oh well, this might work or that might work. It might, but just because something might work doesn't mean that it's right for you, that it's right for your brand, that it's right for the strategy, right? That's why we're so strategic over here. It might not make sense, right? And I think finding your artist or your brand voice versus copying what's trending on socials is so important. For the agency, I don't focus on trends. I even for what we post, if people go to our like, I just don't participate in most of them. Not because it couldn't work, but if I did, it would have to make sense. It would just have to make sense for what we're doing. More so many could work, right? But we have such a clear strategy laid out that we don't have to rely on those trends, right, to reach the people that we want to reach, because our goal is not to reach everybody. Trends are great, right? Eyes awareness, right? Cool, 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 cool. But the strategy piece, I'm trying to reach the right people. And I was like, and we're reaching the right people because our strategy, our brand identity, I know exactly who our audience is. Then I mapped up a strategy of, okay, how am I going to reach them via content and live streams like this? It's all clear. But we also have like an authenticity piece of this. I drop F bombs all the time. People know that is my most authentic self. Like no one could ever tell me, Jazz, don't drop a fuck in your live stream. You're probably gonna get a few, one, two, or three. I don't know. There might be another brand that would never, that is just not authentic to them, or they are just, or maybe it is, but ooh, I gotta be professional. We're not gonna go into like what does that even mean today, but authenticity to the root of it. Or like, hey, this brand is popular and trending. Ooh, I only align with brands that are in this space, and I only really thrift clothing. But because this brand is popping or everyone's buying it, I'm gonna go against who I am at my core essence and purchase that from that company so I can create content. That would be an example of being inauthentic to myself as a creator, right? Because I'm also building a community of those who align with those beliefs, morals, values too. Right? Two sides of the same coin. So authenticity is so important. It's so important. Um, and having that clarity, I can't speak for everyone on what is authentic to you. I feel everyone has to kind of do their own soul searching into that. But the ones that win, the ones that will win, are authenticity at its core. At its core. Let me see what else I had on here for you. But yeah, I said balancing personality with professionalism, keeping it real without alienating opportunities. I still feel you have to be authentic to yourself and be true to you. And that's whatever that means. Be true to you. If something's important that you want to share about, share it. Okay? If you don't align with this brand or corporation, then don't buy it. Um, but also too, dependent, right? Alien opportunities, there is still things. Hey, if you know that you want to create content with a brand at some point, there is such a thing as brand safety. And this is the world we live in. I cannot change it. I can only tell you what brands are looking for when they partner with artists, whether it's an opportunity for a festival booking or a media campaign, I don't know, or a content creator, you're pitching to your favorite brand. There are brand safety identifications that brands have to freaking do. Okay. There's a lot of issues. I have been on some campaigns, so many stories I wish I could tell. But brand safety is a real thing. So if you are hoping to monetize not just on within the community, the fan base, supporters, tribe that you're building, but also, hey, I do want to partner with other brands, organizations, which is a big consideration, right? You got to think about outside looking in, would it make sense for this brand to partner with you? Because if this is about two parties, this is about, it's not just, hey, they're paying me for content, especially as obviously you grow, your brands grow, your platforms grow. We have seen it takes years to build brand reputation. Brand is built over time. You cannot build brand overnight. It is built through every step you take, every conversation, every action, every interaction that you have, every single social post, email, newsletter you send. It's all building your brand. But we have also seen that it is so easy to also, that can go up like real quick. Real quick. It takes one thing, one incident, one issue, one thing, and not saying for everything it might go up in flames, but it has the potential to hinder a lot of things. So you got to think about that stuff. I bring it up because, like I said, I used to be on the behind the scenes doing the searching for creators, negotiating, contracting. I could not spend any of a brand's dollars that they're trusting me with and bring on a partner. One, brands help vet too. They'll give final approvals, but I would have to do my due diligence to make sure, like, okay, is this brand safe? This could mean down the things, and like, yeah, this is an unfortunate thing, but for an artist, this could be the messaging in the context of your lyrics, your music that you're creating. It could be down to the clothing that you're wearing, what you're representing. Just saying. Those are just some examples. Obviously, brands also do look at your socials. So, what you're sharing, what you're posting about, these are all important things to consider just in the midst of everything. I always say, yes, be authentic to who you are. And that might be a double sided coin for people. But if your goal is, hey, I want this brand to partner with me on this or a sponsor my event, XYZ, there has, these are things that they think about. Um, so I think we already talked about obviously being authentic to yourself. This is going to be what's going to attract those super fans, those industry connections, and the brand partnerships, which I have been alluding to. At the end of the day, when we're thinking about how someone that could passively follow you becomes a super fan, we talked about community, all of that stuff last week. This also goes back to authenticity at the root of how are you even going to build relationships within the communities and the spaces that you're in if you are not being authentic to who you are, sharing authentically, whether that's through your music, whether that's through the creative that you bring to life, the spaces that you're in. Oh, and I said this last week, without community, you are going nowhere pretty freaking fast. So because we're in this digital age, I mean, we can see through who's authentic. I feel we can see more so who is and who's not. And those who really are clear in who they are, but also clear in who their audience is, their why, what's going to resonate with them, really take the time to care about connecting with their community. That is what's going to lead to all the success, whether it's the opportunities, the show bookings, the brand partnerships, the industry collaborations, the next song feature you want. authenticity. You can do it inauthentically. I have seen it. It doesn't last. It doesn't last. What's gonna last is you being exactly who you are and rooting all that you do around that essence. And yeah, I am the queen of preaching about authenticity. It's one of our agency pillars for UNE. Authenticity. Authenticity. How can we work with our clients to help them achieve success if we don't go back to that at the core? And anyone who's worked with us as a client knows, like, our questionnaires are thick. We ask all the nitty gritty questions because only then are we going to know how to build out an effective creative and brand strategy that's personalized, tailored, and designed to really create transformation and results to move the needle in the way, right, long term it makes sense. Because once you identify a lot of this stuff and gain clarity on it, it won't dramatically change. It's still going to be the essence, the onus is still going to be what it is. Yes, creative tactics, the how, right? The marketing, that might switch up a little bit. Tools, tactics, platforms, testing things out. But brand strategy, wrapping all this up, at the end of the day is about gaining clarity, understanding. It's about really identifying the who, right? The what, the how, and then you're able to move into, okay, I know who I am. I know my values, I know my mission, I know what success looks like for me. Then you can go ahead and move into, oh, okay, now that I know who I am, what I stand for, what I represent, okay, now who do I want to reach with my sound, my music, my messaging? And then when you know, like, the who you are, and the how, and all of that, and your why, that's when all the magic, I promise you, that's when the magic comes together. So, to wrap this beautiful webinar up, it has been so great to yap with y'all today live. Thank you, everyone who has joined us live. If you have any questions, this is your time to add them in the comment section on the platform that you're viewing from. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes answering any questions that might come through here in just a few minutes. But to wrap up today's webinar, the last thing that I really wanted to talk about today is visual identity that builds fan base. And also, right, the goal is to resonate with your ideal audiences, fans, collaborators, potential partnerships. We can't talk about brand strategy, obviously, without talking about the visual component of it all. It is still a core part of this. And we work with our clients on visual identity components if that's a process that they haven't done just yet. That might be looking, right, like creating their brand kit, gaining clarity on all of those alignments. So, okay, ensuring that they're consistently using this specific font suite and logos across their messaging, a core color palette. Some of our clients, we create graphic design, so we'll do templates so like they can ensure that everything is cohesive across all of their socials. For artists, the visual identity piece is also going to come into things like color psychology. This will be down to your wardrobe, hair, hair color, wardrobe, styling, all of that I would consider a part of the visual component of this. Of course, there's everything we see online, on social, your website, making sure your EPK is all branded, you have all that, your brand kit set up. That's all the visual stuff. But then for artists and creators, what really sets you apart is also going to be those other identity pieces. So for visual versus creative evolution, honestly, you're going to need both as an artist. We see artists that obviously they do it so well. There's so many standouts. One of my favorites in terms of hair. This could be a Billie Eilish when she had her green hair. We Everyone recognized her Billie Eilish from her hair. One example. Another example when it comes to hair psychology that oh my gosh, yeah, that artist really stands out is someone like Doechii, who plays around with so many different incredible hairstyles during her shows, her festivals, her appearances, to the point where oh my gosh, that's so cool. Yeah, that stands apart. Wardrobe can be another one, right? If you incorporate elements into your live sets, into your props on stage, your dancers, all of these are visual components that lend to the brand and to the world that you're building. So we talked about psychology of color and design for genre, for vibe recognition, but you can also create a very recognizable brand across different elements. And this is for just about anyone: press photos, album art, social content, merch, live visuals. These are all different facets and components of what we call like what world building. But you can really cohesively bring your world together. This will go down into how you appear, of course, on social, but how you can then brand, let's say, your email newsletter or your community platform if you have all of these pieces already set up. Before I wrap this up, I wanted to talk about some common visual mistakes that might be hindering your opportunities. So, this can look like inconsistent quality, whether that is, hey, I only have iPhone selfies, but you don't have any professional headshots, branded photos, photo shoots, for examples. Or, oh, there's actually not a visual thread that's connecting this release, this show, this content. Everything's all over the place. There's no branding. I can't tell which way is up or down. That's why you'll see creators where they'll have a specific font, they always use a specific color. This could be the subtitles that we were seeing on music videos that were in yellow for a while. I've seen creators that have branded their content aesthetically across every single reel, every single post with a bold font and bold color, whether it's yellow, red, something that visually stands out. Or hey, I always start my video with a drone shot or a clip from XYZ. So those are just some visual ways that you can stand out. And then also too, connecting the visual thread. So something that we work on with clients after we do all the brand strategy, we got the brand identity, the brand strategy. When we're mapping out their creative strategy, so hey, here are your active core socials, XYZ. Then we get down to okay, based on these platforms that we've identified, we built a strategy around. Here's their content anchors, which would be here's the themes that your creative centers around, and then we build out the strategy based on these themes. What are the creative ideas? Everything's ladder and back, of course, to who we're trying to connect with. And we do talk about a lot when it comes to creative ideas is ensuring that everything it can be as cohesively branded as possible. So for an artist, we will work with our clients to do a checklist. Um, we do offer social media audits. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, you can visit us on the web. I added the QR code on the screen so you can check that out. check our website out. We have undergone a significant refresh, but one of our offerings is a social media audit, for example, where we literally go through and we audit all your platforms. But for any client coming in under our premium offerings, we go back to the same strategy and the same foundation where we are literally like, okay, you're on this platform, you're on that platform. Okay, do you have your EPK one sheet? Is it updated? Is it branded? Do you have a brand kit created? So you know, your future graphic designers know, your whoever your videographer knows, here's my brand kit for my brand. Do you have your website? Does that cohesively match? Your newsletter, how does your social content look visually? Are there core elements that enable you to stand out? Some artists have their own logo. You can see ours on the screen. I got ours up. That's part of branding, the visual part of it. These are just some examples of different branding elements. And then, yeah, looking DIY, I would say, in the wrong way versus being very intentional with, right, your brand, the world, your aesthetic. Those who win are those who doing it right, are the ones that are very intentional about their brand and what they're building. And across the board at any level, whether you're emerging, established, and you have a great budget to invest, whether it's in a brand designer, a more graphic designer, etc., or hey, I'm getting started with the resources I have, there are still ways for you to ensure, hey, okay, I know I use these similar three colors, or oh, I actually really like this font that I use for this album color. Maybe I should keep that theme so it's cohesive. Things like that. But also when it comes to building your brand, as we talked about these different components of branding, from your headshots to your press photos, the social content, your website, your wardrobe if you're an artist, right, or a creator, it doesn't matter, we all wear clothes. These are all some of the visual components of that brand visual piece of it that still matters, that's still so important, that is not going anywhere. And obviously, when so many people think about, oh, brand design, they think about the visuals, because the visuals are what we see first, right? We eat with our eyes first. And we go back to the whole top of this conversation and why that we're doing this webinar today and why it's so valuable for our insiders community, it comes back to the core of, we are here to help you drive momentum, success, but more than just that, sustainable success, right? That gives you a foundation that can stand the test of time. That's why it's been so incredible to see our clients who have worked with us when we first launched. We call them our OG legacy clients, but those who have worked with us over the years, and we've seen them take this strategy, implement it, execute, and continue to refine it. And the success and the results, the opportunities, all of the things that everyone tells me when they talk to me that they want. And we go back to, we got to first get so fucking clear on who you are, your brand. Because we cannot start talking about the marketing and what TikTok content ideas and I want to put an event on. You can, but those who win, those who last, right? There's a strategy and it requires intentionality. And that's what we're here to help you do. So, I feel like I yapped about an hour today. As I mentioned, we're going to have some freebies for you too. If you're catching the replay, you love what you heard, what you witnessed today, drop us a comment of your favorite gem takeaway. If you joined us live and you have any additional follow-up questions, if you're catching the replay too, please reach out to us via our socials. That is the where I feel like we are getting all the feedback from our community in real time. If there's a topic, a question, a conversation, something that you're curious about, want to learn about, want to know more about, always here to try to bring more value to our insiders community. So we have our website right here. Y'all can check out more about us on the web at any point in time. so you can learn more about our agency, our clients, some of the work that we do. Okay, okay, okay. We also have our insiders newsletter. That's where you will get your weekly dose of insider news. Okay, that's where all the magic goes first, including freebies. We will be sharing, okay, within our newsletter and music broadcast channel. So on IG, our freebie templates from our webinar series first. So I'm going to put on the screen our newsletter QR code. Subscribe to the Insiders newsletter. That's where we share the latest UNE news, client spotlights, timely industry opportunities, exclusive offers, freebies like the ones that we're going to share in there, and more. That is where you'll never miss a scoop. But y'all, I love yapping with you so much so, okay, that I guess I'm a live streamer now. I guess this is where we're at in almost 2026 here. But we are going to be alive again next Tuesday. I believe it is October 14th. Yep, October 14th at 12 p.m. PST, 3 p.m. EST for our next topic. This one is IRL experiential events that convert. Oh, we talked about brand. We've been talking about creative strategy. We talked about community building. Next week, we are talking about experiential events to set some seeds, okay, in 2026 and beyond. What I do foresee in the talk of the town, in the marketing land of things, is the return to private communities, which is why we talked about community building. Private communities. I'm talking things like the DMs, which I yapped about last week, broadcast channels, email marketing, newsletters, Discord channels, events. So that's next week's topic. So excited to be back next week with another webinar, same time, but on Tuesday, and it is going to be phenomenal. Once again, if you catching the replay, leave us a comment. Favorite gem, insight, takeaway, moment. Thank you for everyone who tuned in, joined in live. We are so excited to share more magic brewing on the UNE side super soon. So our newsletter obviously is going to get all of that first. And yeah, that's it. We're out. I will be back 12 p.m. PST, 3 p.m. EST on Tuesday, October 14th. For our next topic, IRL experiential events that convert. If you want to catch the full replay post event or you dropped off, caught us midway, no worries, no worries. The full replay will be available on the UNE YouTube and LinkedIn immediately once we end. So you can go get all the gems, the insights. Keep an eye out via our newsletter broadcast channel for that beautiful freebie with your branding audit checklist. There's going to be a worksheet with some questions so you can go through the brand identity framework, foundation, gain some more clarity, maybe refresh some things. And yeah, I cannot wait to yap with y'all again next week. And we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.